Hey, what's going on, y'all? So in this video, we are going to be running through the ultimate guide to an AI appointment setter template. I'm basically going to be running you through how you can structure things, and it'll be compatible with SMS, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, email, any messaging platform. That's what I'm getting at. So the full rundown, so the primary platform where all messages are going to start and end on is going to be GoHighLevel. And the reason we do that, especially if you're working with clients, or honestly even for your own services, it's just so you can very easily see the user conversation without having to click on multiple different softwares. You know, especially when it comes down to service delivery, you're going to want things very clear cut when it comes to lead conversations, so you can clearly show the client, hey, this is what I've done, and it's really easy to show the benefit of the AI, right? But outside of that, we're going to be using make.com to get the cheapest cost per click on the market, because GoHighLevel white labels their AIs, so make.com allows us to go straight to the source, and then OpenAI, of course, to actually run the brain. And the way I set up these builds, you don't have to use OpenAI. I'm going to be showing you how to use OpenAI. The reason I say that is because OpenAI is consistent with conversation flows for the price that you're paying, so that's why I like using it. But let's say a brand new AI comes out tomorrow and it's a direct competitor and it blows OpenAI out of the water. The way I set my builds up, we plug and play. It doesn't matter. Take the knowledge base from OpenAI with us, and we can start using DeepSeek tomorrow or Claude tomorrow. So the way this build is set up, it's evergreen in the sense that you can change with the updating, changing times. The future's now, so we're constantly seeing new things come out when it comes to AI development. So the reason this is the ultimate build is just because you can continue to use it no matter the updates that come out, no matter the competitors that get spawned. We are going to be right there with them and using those platforms for our AI build. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. So we're in my GoHighLevel account now. It's bright and early. It's 9 a.m. Woke up and I was like, you know what? I'm going to record an AI video, right? Just like everyone thinks. So we're going to go to my Sandbox account, and I'm literally going to build everything from scratch on the spot, on the fly, straight from the dome, no reference. I've done over 200 projects, so this should be pretty easy money, but I really want to just give you guys a full rundown from scratch so I make sure I don't miss anything and you guys get full understanding. So what we're going to start with is going to be our opt-in. How do we get the AI to actually start texting or start, invoking conversations with the lead? Usually has to be set up on a trigger, right? So we're going to do 1.1 AI convo trigger start. So, that's just clearly to say, hey, this is starting the conversation. So, if you're doing a form, you can do form submitted. That's going to be a common way to start one of these. Or you could do a trigger word. So today, for the sake of this example, honestly, let's just build it on SMS. Why don't we? So we'll do the opt-in as tag added just for ease of what we're doing. So I'm just going to add a contact tag of test AI, sure, and that's going to be the trigger to get things started. So as soon as that tag gets added, although if this is an ad campaign for SMS, highly recommend using a form. So as soon as that tag is added, first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a different tag. So this contact tag, this next one I'm adding, is going to be our passkey. So for today's passkey, I'm going to be using YouTube SMS AI. For you guys building this at home, I want you to use SMS AI because it's a lot more clear cut. And especially when you guys build out multiple AIs, you're going to want passkeys for each unique AI you're doing so they don't intermingle with one another and cause for a fucked up conversation. So the passkey's added, and now we can send out our initial message. So again, I'm using SMS, but you can use whatever messaging platform you want. GoHighLevel's got tons in there. So we're just going to say, hey, contact name, this is Scott with Scale. Okay, so just saying, hey, contact first name, this is Scale Agents. Are you still looking for marketing build? We guarantee 30 sales calls in 45 days. And I'm going to add a dash there at the end with a space. The reason I do that is because with SMS compliance, the very first message you send to a lead is going to have to say reply stop. So especially, guys, when it comes to creating a human-like conversation, it's important that you mask your builds from being an AI. So honestly, going back on that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this message separate. So let me put you guys on real quick. So SMS, so the Trojan horse to get past the hideous reply stop, make the first message very obvious. It's an automation. Wait stage, and then the second automation seems like it's you texting after the fact. So, all right, so what I went ahead and did, so I've got this free email course that all my leads get if they opt in, just to give them some immediate value. This will immediately get sent now when they opt in, and now I'm going to have a wait stage. We're going to have the AI passkey, though, in case they message prior, but let's say wait stage of 5.5 minutes. For the sake of this video, I'll parse them through that. But now, if you can imagine, this is how I typically will set up most of my AI conversation starters if I'm truly trying to mask the second half of this, the actual initial message that gets sent out of being an AI. So no need to introduce Scale Agents because we already did that. So hey, first name, this is Scott. Saw you showed some interest in our AI builds, so I wanted to personally reach out. Okay, So this is the new starter message, very human-like, very casual. So the idea is going to be to invoke a reply off of this now. So especially when it comes to cold traffic, if you're doing like paid ads where, that even though the traffic opted in, they're still relatively cold, they don't know you or anything, you're likely going to have to do a couple follow-ups here and there. So we're going to set a wait stage, and we're going to set the wait stage to condition of replying to SMS. I know there's two, but it's in sequential order, so it's referring to this one. I'll even show you guys. So if I were to put SMS2 here, see SMS2. And then we're going to do a timeout. So if the timeout is 1400 days, that's usually what I do. So if you're new to this page, I will never use a perfect hour time interval nor a perfect day time interval, because then it becomes very obvious it's an AI. Because then it just becomes very obvious it's an automation when there's like very perfect intervals. It's like, all right, hold on, this guy texted me at 2 p.m. yesterday and 2 p.m. today. It's like, that's kind of fishy. This way it guarantees it's always going to be kind of off because we're using an odd minute to end it there. So if the contact does reply, then we're going to update the contact field. So there's going to be a few custom fields and custom values I'm going to be using throughout this. So I'm quickly going to run through and just add this one, and then I'll hop into settings and show you guys how to add these yourself, because this is going to be very important. So custom fields, attributes you can apply to the contact, and then it's going to have custom information, custom data specifically for each user. So the reason this is beneficial is because when we pitch stuff over to make.com, we can take these custom fields with us, and it helps give us more context or just more insights into the conversation, so that our AI is able to do what it needs to. So in this case, we're going to use AI context. That's going to be a crucial one. So, and I'll say the lead opted. So right now I'm basically laying out the AI context. So when we feed this to the AI, it understands what's happened, what's already been said, so it picks off where we left off, and it's not being like greetings out the gate, which happens sometimes if you don't preface this. So this way it's a, hey, don't greet them, we've already said this. Lead opt-in for 70 email course now. So we're going to say that, but we're not done yet. I'm going to copy this message and then be like, this is what's already been said, just so we don't double back on what we say, so everything's consistent, right? So just going to move over here. This has already been said, so quote, and then throw that SMS message in there, bang, you're good to go. So let me explain this, guys. What's going to happen now? So we're going to send the message, send that second message. If the lead responds within this time interval, so under 23 hours or 24 hours, then we're going to update the context, and then we're going to have a separate workflow, which is going to actually act to begin the conversation, pull all the replies, and then shoot it off to make, right? I'm not going to get too much into the pipeline section, but if you're new to this page, I've got so many videos on how I set these builds up, but usually AI sales pipeline, you can mirror something similar to this, and we'll do talking with AI, because the AI is about to be invoked. And that being said, we can even put an opportunity up here for the AI initially reaching out as well, just so we have proper tracking. So this is now saying off of that second message, the AI reached out, and then since this is just a more general message, this will just be a new lead. So at this point, new lead off of that hey message, 5.5 minute wait, and then AI reached out. If the lead replies, then talking with AI. And we update the context, and that'll be beneficial for later. Now, of course, the other stream of things, let's say the lead does not reply after a day, we're going to hit them with a follow-up. So we're going to name this follow up one. So I'm not really going to waste time creating this follow-up message, but you get it, right? Follow-up. That's really what we're doing here. It's not rocket science. We're then going to do a wait stage again, because if they reply to the follow-up, then we need to make sure this workflow is still able to handle that. So contact reply, follow-up, we're going to do 2283, so 2883. So that's going to be like 48 hours now, right? And then what we can do, so I want you to copy this, copy all actions from here, and move this over. And this just guarantees if they reply to follow-up, then we update the contact as well. The only difference is within the contact field, you're going to copy your follow-up one message and then append it to the very end of this, so that the AI understands, all right, they sent this greeting, oh shit, and they sent this follow-up. And this, again, just make sure that your conversation is congruent from the start, because if the AI is immediately coming out wonky, then it's weird. You usually do follow-up and then paste the message. Mine just happens to be follow-up one, but hopefully your message is actually something meaningful. And then here's the thing, guys. At this point, you can literally just do a full loop, like copy all actions from here, dump that here, rename this one, and then reroute reply to follow-up. And then, of course, you would add follow-up to this contact, and then you're going to be good to go. And then what I will usually do, so I'm not going to add follow-up to context, but for you guys, I want you to add follow-up to this AI context down here. So let's say, all right, well, we tried to hit them up many times. Nothing happened. It is what it is. Let's just hit them with one last follow-up several days later. And then from here, we'll just do one more wait. This one will be slightly different here at the end though. So timeout, let's just say this is one last message. If they don't reply to this, then after the timeout, we're going to call call it quits, or we're going to sign off on them. What I mean by that is we are going to denote them as a dead lead. No response after follow-ups. They made it this far in the pipeline after several days, but hey, if they did follow up, cool, we're going to run it, right? That's what this is going to be doing. Yeah, and then just make sure you add your follow-up 3 context again, and you're set. So just now, we quickly went through and made a follow-up sequence that updates the context of the conversation as the lead progresses, right? Okay, so we're not actually going to be using any custom values for this video. The only difference between the multi-line and the only one that's going to vary is going to be the math operation that we're going to set up. So for that, we're going to use a number. So I want you guys to go ahead and set this up just to make sure there's no confusion. So what you're going to do, custom field values number, and then we're going to type, so just call it that, multi-text handler field. The next thing I'm going to go over is how we can set up the AI to handle double and triple text messages in one go. This will make for a very clear-cut build. That's why this is the ultimate template after all. So yeah, go and do that math operation. It's set to number. Other than that, we'll be good to go. We're going to go back over into the automation section now, and we're going to continue the build where we left off. Got our opt-in made, so we're now going to do the multiple text handler. So the idea is that this will be able to catch all replies from the lead, but the way I set my builds up is that we can handle several different, right? So we're going to do reply channel, we're going to do SMS, and then we're going to add our passkey here, right? For me, I was doing YouTube passkey, but I told you guys just to do SMS AI passkey, right? So now this is basically only going to catch replies in which the contact also has our passkey, so we're good to go. First things first, I'll usually like to set up an if else check for stop. So you know how the initial message, it'll say reply stop. We just want to make sure we're compliant, and so we want to make sure we're compliant. So actually, before we even set this up, we have to save it first. How GoHighLevel works, if you add a new trigger and then you try to like make a reference to that trigger without saving, then it won't be able to read it. So that's why I had to do that. Reply stop. So we're gonna do workflow trigger is okay. So we're gonna do contact reply. So replied message contains, or actually, yeah, we're gonna do is. The reason we're not gonna do contains is because if they're like, oh, like I'm trying to lose weight and it's hard for me to, stop eating a bunch of this. If you do contains, they're going to read stop and they're going to be like, oh, they opted out, right? But obviously that's not the case. So is means that it's like, this is all that's getting sent, just that one word. So we're going to do stop lowercase, and we're going to set this to or, and then we're going to run it back and say, well, actually, because we're parsing it, sorry, we're going to do is not, because this is going to be the positive one. So if it is, we're going to dump them. But if it is not, then we're good to go. So applied is not, or applied is not, and then stop, just to make sure we handle all casing, right? So this is what we're looking at now. So if it is not, then we're going to put them through here, which is the good node. But if it is, we're dumping them. I'll even call this the dump, just because we don't want to be sending them messages if they opted out, obviously, right? So then tag, I'll usually do like a stop bot tag as my killer. So we'll do that today. So stop bot, that'll be our killer tag, meaning if a lead does have this, then they're not allowed to get messages from us. That would be out of scope. Okay, so at this point, we are good to finally set up our math operation, and this is going to be attributed to that custom field I showed you guys how to set up earlier. This is how you go about setting up multiple texts. So I've already got my multiple text handler field. I just had you create one, I think, called multi-text handler. So right when you put that field in, it's going to update because it's going to know that it's a number. It's a number custom field. So we're going to add 1, a value of 1. And we're going to update that same multi-text handler field, right? So what this is basically saying, okay, when a customer comes through, they haven't replied stop, okay, we're going to check them once. And the reason we do this is because let's say they send 3 messages. It's going to come through here, 1, come through again, 2, come through here again, 3. Now, based on those 1, 2, and 3 values, we're going to build right now, we're going to build 3 different streams to handle 3 different texts, and then compile all of them and then pitch those 3 texts all together and pitch them to OpenAI. Reason we do this, most builds you'll see on this platform, and honestly, just most builds in general, rookies that don't know what they're doing, they'll set them up to where, let's say I send 3 texts, the AI is now going to reply 3 different times, and it makes for a hideous conversation. It doesn't look good. It looks unprofessional. Make sure to save it now, and let's get into this next part. So we're going to create an if else again. So we'll just call this then what we're going to do is multi-text handler decider. That's fine. So we'll call this one math operation, and then we're doing equal to a value of 1. Then for efficiency, duplicate that, name this one 2, reroute that to 2, duplicate again, make that 3, then route that to 3. Boom. So we've now got our 1, 2, and 3 nodes handled. So next is going to be to update another contact field with custom data. So if you remember before, I need you guys to go back and create a user reply 1, that's a multi-line custom field, user reply 1, user reply 2, user reply 3, all of them multi-field. That's going to allow us to do this next part, or I guess user response, I mean tomato, tomato, whatever. And so once you got that created, you're going to click on that little tag, you're going to click message, and usually something will say message body here. However, if you've never loaded data into here before, you can also hard code the value, and then once data comes in for the first time, it'll pick it up. So message.body, and then close bracket, that's it. So we're going to copy that message body. Actually, you can also just, let's go and copy these over for efficiency. Copy, and then we are going to reload in here. So still make sure this is copied, because when you change custom fields, it'll wipe the data. So user response 2, paste that in, user response 3, paste that in. We're still going off the dome, guys. We're still going off the dome. Okay, so before we move on to add the very last part, there's one more note I want to add here, but before we get to that, we have to add our next section, because it's going to be an add to workflow section. So I have to build the next section before I can go back in 1.2 and add it to that new workflow we're trying to build, right? So this one will be our webhook, 1.3.8, we'll call it make.com webhook. That's what we'll call it. Perfect. We're just going to leave that there for now. And honestly, let's go ahead and build out the other 2 nodes as well, just so we have a clear-cut plan of action for you guys. 1.4 AI response to lead. So this is going to be the message that we're sending back to them after we've got everything prefaced. And then we're going to set up a 1.5 for follow-ups real quick. Okay, so back over on 1.2, let's finish that very last step, and we will be cooking. We will be cooking, guys. So add to workflow, and then 1.3, watch, I'm gonna have so many 1.3s, I knew it. Okay, 1.3 make.com, that's the one that I just set up with y'all. So add that. So let me explain this real quick. Anytime a user replies, it's guaranteed that it's user reply 1 at the very least. So most of the time, a lead will come through here with 1 reply, condition, math operation will take it as 1, multiple text handler field will put them in 1. So this field forever has to be the driver for add to workflow, because it's like, oh cool, if we add a second or third user response, but user response 1 has to always be the driver, because in order for this workflow to even function, there had to have been 1 reply, right? So just know that's why I'm only adding it here. And even though we're not adding these to workflows, these are now applied to the contact itself. So like, all the metadata in the background that we're going to be sending over to make.com is now attributed to this contact despite not adding it to any workflow. The workflow is just to move the contact itself to the next desired location. All right, so we can now finally move over into this section. Now, the reason I wanted to build them out all prior is because the first thing we're doing is, and we're just going to remove them from our opt-in sequence that I built out with you guys. So remove them from our opt-in. We're going to remove them from, our opt-in, then we're also going to remove them from our follow-up sequence. The reason why we're doing this is because even though we already have our opt-in set up to remove people, it's just a safeguard. And then for follow-ups, it'll make sense why we're doing that, but it'll allow us to essentially have it to where the AI is never reaching out when it shouldn't, right? So as soon as that gets sent, what I often like to do is have a small wait stage, right? And this really helps to mask the AI from coming off as an automation. So it's not replying instantaneously, but this also gives us a grace period to stop, wait, and collect user reply 2 or 3 if they are going to double or triple text us. So, there's going to be a bit of processing time, especially on remove workflow nodes. I've noticed it takes a couple seconds. So, I'm putting 0.25 of a minute, which is going to be 15 seconds. But on top of that, including other processing time before we pitch it off to the webhook, we're probably looking at about 20 seconds of load time. So while we're waiting, what you can do is, so we're just adding a wait stage, and then the next thing we're going to be doing, go ahead and save that. The next thing we're going to be doing is adding a webhook, right? And this is where we actually get to start the make side of things, guys. So I'm going to hop over to make.com now, and we are going to create a new scenario from scratch. So within make, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click webhook, and then we're going to click hook response, save, and then we're going to click custom webhook, and then you can go ahead and we'll build a new one for this. YouTube example, just so you guys don't steal one of my APIs. All right, and then we're going to copy that address, go ahead and save that, and we're going to just paste that in there. So this will send all of the data over to GoHighLevel. You don't need to add custom data. I promise you it'll pull it all anyway, so we're good to go. Now, as soon as that webhook gets sent, first thing we have to do, so important, and this really will make or break your build. This is something rookies just don't know about, and this is why they can't set up a proper multiple text handler. So clear the data for that multi-text handler, right? So what this does is it wipes the value and puts it back at 0. So each time the contact continues to reply, the 1, 2, 3 math operation ticker will continue to reset. Otherwise, after they've exhausted 1, 2, and 3, the AI will never have any more information or any more user data to pass over to make. So that's why we have to do that. So I'll even name that clear multi-text handler, right? Clear that. All right, and now we're good to go. So this next part's going to rely over on make.com now. So there's going to be two nodes that we're going to have to build. So we're going to need to have a router, and we're going to build one to create the initial conversation and then one for pre-existing conversations. And I'll show you how we will denote that. So over here, so after the webhook gets sent, after we clear and everything, we are going to add a tag, a contact tag. Actually, no, we're not going to add that yet. So over here on the bottom node, what we're going to do, it's going to immediately just start an OpenAI conversation. So message an assistant. So you'll have to connect to an OpenAI account, specifically a platform.openai.com account like you see here. I've already got an assistant loaded in. So within OpenAI, this is really where you're going to have to prompt engineer a little bit and, create out an assistant knowledge base to handle, whatever use case you're looking to get handled. So I've got a ton in here already, so I'm just going to choose from one of mine. And then from here, this message area is where we're going to put the user metadata over everything that we've gotten up to this point. There's nothing in here yet because we haven't pulled any payload information over from GoHighLevel yet, so I'll just leave it at placeholder. The next thing that you're going to have to sync up if you're new to doing this is your GoHighLevel. So we're going to have to update the contact. So make sure GoHighLevel is connected. So this will also be a placeholder. We are going to need to use that here in a bit. And then last but not least, data store. We can go ahead and build the data store now. We're going to have it add/replace record. I'm going to show you guys how to build it from scratch right now. So data store, I'll just put YouTube example. YouTube example, structure, we're going to create a structure to YouTube example. Okay. Now within here, add specification, add item. We're going to name this one contact ID required, and then we're going to do thread ID not required though, and then we're going to click save. That's our new data structure. Save once more, and now we have this in here. We're just going to put placeholder information in there so we can actually move on. Oh yeah, and then one more thing that I want to note for you guys. I'm going to scroll down and find mine. I need you guys to go into your custom fields and add something like this. It's a multi-line. It says GPT SMS assistant response message. Have it say some shit like that, and then come back over to GoHighLevel because we're going to be appending our OpenAI result in here once it gets generated. So here's the idea behind this, guys. When a lead comes in here for the very first time, we're creating the initial conversation, updating GoHighLevel, and then storing that conversation history in this data store. And now every time the lead comes in after the fact, we want to promote them to this top node. So we're going to be setting this by tagging conventions. So go over to filter. Honestly, we don't have any metadata in here yet, but we will set that up here in a second once we do have our tags. So I'll show you guys how to set up the tag, but basically once the first message gets sent, we're going to have an automation on GoHighLevel to add a tag. And that tag will read, so every time after the fact, it's like, oh, well, they have this tag, meaning this first message has already been sent. We're going to push them up to this top node instead. So then the lead will just revolve in this top one for the pre-existing conversations. So I think this bottom one is the conversation builder, top one is the pre-existings. So because of that, data store, first thing we're going to do is search into our old data store and search records and make sure that we can identify the alike contact. So then it would be contact ID equal to, and then placeholder, but it's going to be equal to our GoHighLevel payload contact ID. Cool, that gets sent in, and then we're going to do an OpenAI node again, the same exact assistant, of course, and then we're going to do a placeholder in the message body as well. And the only difference is down here on thread ID, super important. You guys can go ahead and add this thread ID here. So this is storing, like I just showed, with our OpenAI message, it builds a new thread ID. We're storing that thread ID in here, and then later on we're tapping into it. So that, the thread ID is what keeps the conversation history. Because on OpenAI, with all the messaging assistants, they have unique threads for all conversations. So we're just tapping back into that. Benefit of this, if a lead replies like a year from now, we still have that thread ID for them, so we can pick up where we left off, which is awesome. So just another placeholder here. Once again, make sure you have that node I just told you guys to go build over on the custom fields, GPT assistant response message, multi-line, something like that, right? Save. Okay, so now the skeleton of our build is set up. We're going to go ahead and click run once, and I'm going to pitch off a request so we can set it up on OpenAI's end or on make.com's end. Workflow may turn off. I don't know how long this is going to take. Publish these. All right, so I just found my contact, which is already in my system. So just so we start from a clean slate, I'm wiping all tags from it, and then I'm going to add that test tag, that test AI tag, just so I can invoke myself. So I'm going to hover over this, add tag, and then we're going to make it say test AI, perfect, and then add tags. Okay, so I just got a text message on my end. Okay, so we're on my personal phone number right now. So I already have like automations getting sent through here. So that's why you're not seeing a reply stop before this tick. But for you guys that are watching this, if you're sending a message to yourself for the first time on SMS, you're likely going to have a reply stop thing below this. But this is confirming that our initial set of automations is actually sending. At this point, new passkey is already added. So if I reply before that second message gets shot off, the AI will still be able to handle it. However, I'm going to go ahead and go back into our build and parse it through, because see, it's actively enrolled in 1.1 because it's stuck in limbo in our await stage before we send that second message off. So let's go ahead and remove it from limbo, aka the 5.5 minute wait. Boom, move all. Okay, so if you look back over here, bang, here's that second message that got shot out. So the conversation is initialized, it's ready to go. So what we're going to do next, so we got to rerun our make scenario. Honestly, we can even go ahead and turn it on just to make sure it's collecting anything. But yeah, click run once just to confirm. And then what we're going to do now is actually text it a message. So just for full understanding for you beginners out there, we're in this wait stage. So if I don't text it, it's going to go into the follow-up section tomorrow. But if I text right now, then we'll update the context and then actually start the conversation. It'll throw into 1.2 and then it'll pitch it off into 1.3 in our webhook. So I'll text it like, hey, thanks, what are your services? So I just said, hey, thanks, what are your services? So if I back out here, we should see an active enrolled in 1.2. If I backed out quick enough, yep, 1.2. And then watch, if I click this, then click back, should update. Okay, so now we're looking for 1.3, active enrolled in there. And then watch, if I click again, should shoot off the webhook. Or honestly, we can even see it over here. So once that webhook stage gets met within 1.3, it'll shoot off over here. You know, we do have that 15-second wait. That's why within 1.3. I mean, honestly, even when you're testing to this point, within the 1.3 node we built together, you can remove the wait stage to avoid having to wait for this, or leave it. It's really up to you guys. Just know if you do leave it, although the conversations will come off properly delayed, you know, it could be a bit of a hassle for testing purposes, right? And watch, as soon as it said exceeded. Okay, so I fucking missed it. As soon as it said exceeded time, the webhook shot off, although I had it on and saved, so we still have user data in here now, and we can check that by, okay, so we're gonna redo it because it shot through, and then because I didn't have it listening, nothing happened. Like as soon as I shot it off, Make stopped listening. So run once, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna hold its hand to make sure it gets through. So just popped it in, so now it's stuck in the wait stage. All right, we're gonna parse it out of the wait stage, and then we're gonna go pocket watch fucking Make to make sure that it goes. Ready, set, go. Should be accepted info. There we go, finally. All right, so user response, that's what I just texted. Hey, thanks, what are your services? As you can see right here. So we've got that payload. So now we can marry it over to our automation flow since I unlinked it. Now we can get cooking. So stick with me, let's run it. All right, setup filter. First things first, we're gonna set up a tagging convention to be able to decipher where leads are at. So what I usually like to do is a webhook tag. So we're gonna do tag does not contain webhook, and that'll basically be denoted like, hey, this is a brand new conversation, and then tag contains, bang. Okay, save that. Now over on this OpenAI node, what we are going to do for this payload is we are going to feed it the AI context of what we loaded in there, and then we can search for that in here as well. So AI context, and you can see the information that I wrote out earlier, and then user response message. Boom. And then here we do user, and then we want to pull in all three just to make sure. And you can even pull in the blank ones and they'll just show up as void, but when they do have data, then they'll be relevant and they'll load up here, right? So we load that in. So that's all you need for the payload to feed to AI, and it'll be able to pick up assuming your knowledge base is prompted correctly, of course. Now over on the GoHighLevel node, we can kill this placeholder and we can actually put a valid contact ID there. And then, like I said, I hope you already added your GPT multi-line that we need, because that's going to load in our reply. So in this case, I'm doing SMS, assistant response message, result goes in there, and that is the message. The result is the message we're sending back to the lead. Last thing is we need to load in this data now. So contact ID, make sure it's the red one, contact ID, load that in, and then thread ID will be associated with the OpenAI green node. So thread ID. All right, we're set on the bottom. So now let's go over the top. Search records, contact ID equals to this contact ID. And basically what we're doing is we're cross-referencing our data store of contact IDs to see if the existing contact ID is within here. And we can even do equal to case insensitive just to make sure we're parsing everything. So now within this OpenAI node, just like we did on the bottom, AI context, and then we're going to do user response message, and then we're gonna do top use right, and then we're gonna do 1, 2, and 3. Save. Now the only other difference, we already put it in earlier, but that thread ID, it's tapping in from here, so good to go with that. Last but not least, of course, let's load in this contact ID, the red one. I always do the red one even though we've got the data stored one. Technically you can do either, but the red one is like guaranteed that it's going to be with this user because that's the webhook that just got thrown in, right? So we're looking for that SMS field, and then we're going to put a result in there, result from the OpenAI message. Awesome, guys. So now we are good to save. So let's go finish up the last part of the build over on our GoHighLevel account, and then we'll be set to actually get this thing operational and we can run a couple tests. So now within our 1.4 node, we are going to do contact changed as the trigger, and if you remember that GPT SMS assistant response, that is going to be the custom field that we're changing. Okay, here we go. So I'm just quickly pivot to this one, GPT assistant response message. Just quickly update things with my other GoHighLevel account. So I've got an entire just massive AI automation GoHighLevel build that you guys can get for 97 bucks, and it gives you access to a full GoHighLevel account, plus my make.com scenarios, plus access to my private community with all sorts of tutorials on how to get things done. I was synced up to that one. Not even a sales pitch, just quickly telling y'all about it. But okay, let's move back. So we're using GPT assistant response message as the trigger, and we're going to do has changed. Now what this means, if you saw over here, we just added that result over here. So each time it changes and updates with that new AI message, it'll trigger this workflow to start. So first things first, we are going to do a passkey checker. We only want to send off a message if it's valid and fits the mold of who we're typically targeting. So we're going to do tags, includes, and then I'm doing YouTube SMS, but you do SMS AI, assuming you're doing an SMS node. But yep. None, don't need to do anything there, it'll just stay. Now from here, we're gonna add an additional passkey, and now from here, we're gonna add an additional filter, and we're just gonna check to see if this is a follow-up or not. We'll say does not include follow, normal, reply, follow up. So I'm going to show you guys today how to build just like a normal reply and then one follow-up off of that, just so we don't get too technical. But usually when I'll set up a build for a client, we'll be running like 4 phases of follow-ups, to really hit the hammer on these leads. So, okay, normal reply. So for this normal reply, it's now our next SMS node. So the AI generated the conversation and we stored the result in a GPT assistant response message. So because of that, this is going to be a variable node we're building. So go into your custom fields, GPT assistant response message in the brackets, literally it, right? That'll continue to update and package the proper reply back. Follow-up node as well. Let's go ahead and save this before we miss anything. All right, so what we're gonna do next is update the contact. So you know how I had you guys update the multiple text handler field to clear shit? We have to do that again. Not for the multiple text, but for the user replies, user responses, so that we don't accidentally continue to feed the AI with new or with old information that gets sent. Because let's say lead replies with 3 texts first time around, and then from then on, they're only replying with 1 text. Well, user response 1 would then change each time, but user response 2 and 3, since they haven't received new text, they would stay the same. So we'd continue to be feeding our make.com payload the same replies over and over, and it'll just look hideous. It'll make for a shit conversation, a confusing one for that matter. So every time a new message gets sent off, we're wiping everything. For safe measures, if you're anything like me, I like to have a lot of safeguards. I even like to clear it here, even though we technically already cleared it at 1.3. Hell, we'll clear it here again too, because might as well. All right, copy action, copy action. So from here, what we're going to be doing next is doing a add to workflow, and we're going to be adding any normal reply contact into our follow-up section, right? In the follow-up section, I'm going to show you guys how to set up for a day, and then if they do get that follow-up, then next time they come through here, they'll fall into this section. After that, they won't receive any follow-ups, that's that. But if you can imagine, you could build out several more follow-ups, and then, so this is adding to 1.5. You could have this one add to 1.6, this one add to 1.7, so on and so forth, to have infinite follow-ups. Or you could do an infinite feedback loop and have one workflow, and it just continues to add to workflow. So a single time there's a response, 24 hours later, they're going to receive a message back. I will say though, if you do that, I would recommend prompting your AI to turn the word halt if the conversation is like bullshit, or if the lead is like, yo, stop texting me, and you're just hammering them with replies, in which case, assuming you've prompted within OpenAI, you tell your knowledge base, but hey, respond with the word halt if the lead is like out of scope, disinterested, they don't want to receive more messages. And then you do GPT assistant response contains the word halt, and make sure the AI returns it in full text. And you're going to want to put this one first before a normal reply, because the way GoHighLevel works, it reads the nodes in sequential order. So, you could even add like a normal reply doesn't contain, just to make sure. Oh shit, not here. You'd even add it here is what I was saying. So, and GPT doesn't contain halt. And then this one would literally just be like a dead. So then you would do like tag. So you either do stop bot, or how I sometimes will set it up for clients, it'll be like, hey, if a lead has a price question and they're not budging, they want to know price before the call, then we'll do a halt node, and then we'll do an internal notification in which we're going to text our client, custom number, client's number, and then be like, hey, client, this lead isn't budging, go reach out. The reason we do something like this is so that we don't let leads fall through the cracks, but for those hardball leads, we can still try to make a sale out of them, because you don't want to give up on leads just because they may have an objection. So this is a way to get around that. And then what I'm doing now is just feeding my client all the information about the contact. So, hey client, lead isn't budging, go reach out. Here's their name, phone, email, do your thing, right? So that would be an internal notification related to halt in order to set all that up. So yeah, that's one thing. And then in that case, if you did that, you wouldn't even need a separate follow-up node, and you can do an infinite feedback loop that continues to send follow-ups every single day. Anyways, so we just added this 1.5 follow-up. So let's go finish off this automation, and then we are good to go, guys. All right, so in 1.5, first things first, no trigger needed, but we need a wait stage, of course. Wait stage. Now, here's the thing about follow-ups. So we're going to make this 24 hours. So as you know, we do an obscure time interval. We're going to flip this to advanced window. So we are going to make sure that it's set Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. through 5 p.m. Because the last thing you want to do is be sending a lead a follow-up at the crack of dawn or on a weekend, and you just fucking piss them off. This way, it's only within scope of normal business hours. And after we send that message off, we are going to do add tag, contact tag, and then we're going to do follow-up tag. And so back on 1.4, this is how we denote whether we're going to parse it into normal reply or follow-ups. So tag gets added, and then we're going to shoot that webhook off to make... Actually, no, sorry. Before we do that, we are going to be updating contact field AI context. This is a follow-up. No new information from the lead has been spoken. Send a one-sentence follow-up to the lead to re-spark the convo. So we're going to send that over so the AI knows it's a follow-up and not to just, respond with some bullshit. Webhook, go back over here, copy address, drop that webhook in here and shoot that over. That's literally all we need in here, right? So what this is going to act to do is send that follow-up like we need. One thing that I do want to note though, that we're going to go back and add real quick just to make sure that this is a proper build. And I'm doing all this off the dome. Haven't looked at notes once. We're just running it. It's awesome. All right, so we are going to update context here. So this just makes sure that we know based on the 1.1 opt-ins, the context, we know balls deep conversation context, and then we know 1.5 context of follow-up. So this is a I'm thinking now actually, we're not going to put it here. The reason I say that is because off of the very first context follow-up that gets sent, we need to make sure that 1.3 still sends over that initial. So we're going to put it in our 1.4 instead. So if they made it this far in conversation flow, then we can update the context here and it'll be fine. So we're going to do AI context. This is a pre-existing conversation AI knowledge base prompt. So I'm just saying continue with the AI knowledge base prompt, which is referring to the OpenAI prompt within here with our assistant. Basically just being like, hey, this is a pre-existing conversation, continue on. And so the three different contexts that we've got now are going to be, hey, this is a brand new conversation. This is the welcome message that I sent within our 1.1 node. Hey, this is a pre-existing conversation. Just continue with the knowledge base. Just run it. And then obviously 1.5, yo, this is a follow-up. The reason I added the context here, still under the follow-up section, is because there's going to be so many cases where we're tossing leads into the follow-up and then they still are subject to replying back. So if you remember in the 1.3 node, we're removing context from 1.5. So, leads will ideally constantly be removed from 1.5. And it's only if that 24-hour wait stage is met, then we'll actually shoot them a follow-up. Very last part of the build before we actually get cooking, if you remember, this is the delineator between brand new conversation and pre-existing conversation, the tag webhook. So if a new conversation gets started, no webhook tag. So after we've sent that very first message off, we are going to go ahead and add that tag. So this guarantees, hey, we shot them an initial message. This is a pre-existing conversation now. We're going to add it everywhere throughout here, even on halt. because they could have had a halt off first message, who knows. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete my contact. Now the reason you have to do this is because, like I just showed you, the way we've set up our build, it works off of conversation history that's attributed directly to the contact ID. So within GoHighLevel, every lead has their own contact ID. So if you want to start a new message from scratch, you have to delete your contact and reinstate yourself so you can give yourself a new contact ID so that the system is able to like understand that this is, a fresh user. And, for our testing purposes, it's a little weird, but for actual use case and utility of the build, you're never really going to have an instance where you're having to delete and reinstate a contact and GoHighLevel. Okay, so I've just re-added myself, so I'm going to go ahead and add that test tag back again, test AI, and then that will start out a new conversation from scratch, and then we will run our test and make sure that the system is operating properly, and we'll go from there. All right, so now that I've deleted myself, you'll notice that reply stop is back, opportunity updated, new lead. So now I'm going to be going back into our sandbox, and we will parse it through that wait stage just to continue moving on efficiently. All right. Parse it through, and then we'll be receiving that second message here. Boom. Okay, so now I'm good to start this conversation. Opportunity updated, AI reached out. So once again, literally just gonna say, hey, thanks, what are your services? All right, and now we'll see it should have gone through 1.2. I don't know if we'll catch in time. Yep, it's already stuck in 1.3, and it's going to be stuck in that 15-second wait stage, right? So I'm going to have this set to listen just so we can visually see the lead move through here, this brand new lead. Push it through, and then we're going to go pocket watch it on make send. Bang. Notice it went through the bottom section because it does not have that webhook tag. It's thinking, and it's going to spit out a message here in a sec. All right, so shot it off. Now we should see over here in a second, there's that message. Sure thing at scale agents, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read through this shit, but you get it. So this is how we set up our first message, right? So now we'll notice if I back out, I should be stuck in that follow-up stage. And yes, I am. Active enrolled user, so I'm stuck in here. So now if I reply back, it'll pull me from 1.5, it'll throw me in 1.2, compile the message, shoot it off to make.com, send it back to me, and then forever throw me back in here. So it's a full closed loop system now. I'm going to send one reply off so you guys can see it moving to the top section and tap into the pre-existing conversation that we've now created with the new thread ID. Okay, so I just said, oh cool, what's your offer? So same thing as before. I'm going to go ahead and hop in 1.3 and just kind of accelerate this process. Starting the wait stage again. So we are going to have make listen real quick, and then we'll parse this baby through. Yep, move that. Check it out. Boom. So it recognized the new webhook tag we added. So it's a pre-existing conversation. We searched for the contact. We found it based on the contact ID, parsed it over to OpenAI, and fed it that thread ID for the pre-existing conversation, and we shot it back off to GoHighLevel. So now in the conversation, there's that new convo. The reason it's all in lowercase also is because this is tapped in directly to one of my core knowledge bases, where it's like, hey, doing all lowercase just to seem like it's you, more human, like I guess is really what I was going for there, right? But yeah, guys, that in essence is the ultimate guide, ultimate template to setting up your AI appointment setter on any messaging platform whenever SMS today. Now, if you made it this far in the video and you're like, damn, Scott, this is crazy, I want to take things to the next level, how do we get more elaborate? I want to quickly put you guys on something real quick. So I created something that I like to call the Scale Agents AI Toolkit, and what this is, I've compiled all the builds that I've done. I've done over 200 AI projects over the past year and a half at this point, working with different clients, and I built out successful SMS AI appointment setters, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, email, voice agents, all of that shit, right? So I plugged them all into this one centralized location. Look, you'll probably notice a bit of familiarity. So these get a little more elaborate, a little more technical because, I wasn't trying to, be as beginner level, I suppose. But really what I'm getting at, guys, if you want full access to my actual automations that I'm currently using and charging anywhere from $6,000 to $12,000 for my services, and you'll get access to this entire, so I'm giving all this away for $97, and I intentionally priced that to be the same price as a vanilla GoHighLevel. So you can either build this all yourself and use the basic GoHighLevel plan, or you can pay that same $97 and you'll get access to a GoHighLevel still, but you'll also get a full snapshot of a make.com scenario I built that's super elaborate in being able to perform on meta platforms, on SMS, and on email, WhatsApp as well. But not only that, but you'll get full access to my private community in which I give full tutorials on how to set everything up, how to set up your make scenarios and have them aligned directly with your GoHighLevel account. I go over theory, ad strategy, the whole 9 yards. So, if you're really looking to get into AI automation and you you want to fast track a couple months of learning, and have actual education videos similar to this one, but go over the exact toolkit, I'm going to leave the link to the toolkit. If you're still curious to hear more information, there's actually a whole video on that link that explains everything you're going to get. You do choose to go with it, but really what I'm trying to cultivate now is a community of killers, right? So within this private community, it's only for active members that are using my toolkit, in which I plan on giving you guys game, and hopefully we can get some partnerships going and really dominate the game and, create somewhat of like an AI mafia, I suppose, out of like, collaborating with one another. We're going to have calls here and there. And really my goal here is to get you guys set up so that we can feed off of each other's success and really create a dominating empire during this AI gold rush. Anyways, guys, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Happy to answer them. I'll also leave my Instagram link if you want to send me a personal message. If you have any specific inquiries over anything, happy to answer that as well. And on that note, I'll see you on the next video.